Good morning, and welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay. Our guest today is Mannette Antill, a voice, speech, and presence coach, award-winning actor, and a former attorney. Drawing from decades of experience in law, leadership, performance, and elite actor training, Mannette helps speakers, entrepreneurs, and change makers communicate in a way that creates genuine connection and influence. Her work challenges a common belief in the business world that becoming a better speaker is simply a matter of learning more techniques. Instead, Mannette shares sometimes the very skills we work so hard to develop can actually get in the way of authentic communication, because when we're focused on performing, we often lose the very thing that our audience is looking for: connection. In today's conversation, we're talking about why speaking skills alone aren't enough, how entrepreneurs unknowingly lose the room when they focus too much on their performance, and what it takes to communicate with the kind of presence that builds trust, credibility, and business growth. And then before we close, Mannette is going to share a special gift with our audience to help them become more effective communicators and create stronger connections with the people they serve. Mannette, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for Monday Morning Business Foreplay inside of Potapalooza.
Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share what I'm very excited to share.
Thank you. So let me start by asking you this. Some of the audience members may have never heard of you or never met you before. So will you please share with us who you are and what it is that brought you to the work that you do today?
I'm going to start when I was 4 years old. This isn't going to take a long time.
Oh, yesterday.
But just a couple of weeks ago. I was 4 years old, and I remember as clearly as the words, the piercing glare in my mother's eyes. But the words were, "Mannette Antill, lower your voice." Now, I don't know what expressive, spontaneous expression were coming from me, but it just became my breath cut off, my sound cut off. My body caved in as if it was for a blow, because that's what happens with our neurological system. And I reached out for something to bring her back, the connection with my mother. My mother was my safe space. And I grabbed for my father's humor. And my father wasn't so safe. He was a World War II vet who had PTSD, but he was very funny. And so I grabbed my father's humor and I said, "Is this low enough, Mother?" And she, yes. Now, this was not the only time. It's the time I remember. It became kind of a game. Lower your voice. Okay. Sometimes just a glare. Okay, Mother. But this is where my voice went.
Yes.
You hear that? I buried my voice in order to protect and be who I had to be, to get the approval and acceptance that I needed to maintain that connection, right, with my mother. Now, my mother had perfect intentions. She was preparing me for the world she believed in. This is in the 50s. And where she said, people don't like pushy women, even other women. You needed to be quiet and gentle, right? Warm and kind, and have a nice soft voice. And this was the voice actually that I used all the years I practiced law. Now, I promise you, I tell people I am in recovery for that, for practicing law. But I won't go into the whole thing of when I went back to the full passion that I had as a young person for theater. I went, and my acting teacher, first semester, acting one, said, "Mannette, we really believe you're very talented, but we keep losing your voice." So I had to go to Voice 10A, where I had to learn to bring my voice to a full and resonant place, a full and resonant pitch, where it could be heard, where I could reach, right? Where it had some power. Now, when I first started using that voice, I could use it on the stage, but I was hesitant to use it myself, because our voices are so connected to our identities, right? And how we sound and how we communicate. Now, both voices are my voice.
Right.
It's not like we're changing. You can't change your voice. It's like a snowflake. You're born with it, and it's what you have. But just like your body, you can learn habits that serve your voice, that serve your body, right? And these ability to communicate, to be connected to the breath And the body that's necessary for a full, powerful, and resonant voice is also the same condition, the body state, from whence presence arises. A grounded neurological nervous system. Because when you walk into a room, before you utter a word, people sense that presence. They sense whether you're calm. They sense whether it's a safe space that they can trust to lean in, that they can be comfortable in your hands and with your voice. And then the voice moves in to fill it fully with a resonant voice that can be heard and communicate, right? But it's not like kind of one has to come from the other. We find that presence, we find that connection, that feeling of ourselves in the body. We say, our language, we say, that touched my. When you think about it, you think about something that touches your heart, looking into the face of a loved one, or on YouTube watching kitty videos or something, something that touches your heart. That's where you feel it. You feel a buoyancy, you feel a warmth, you feel a lift. We say, that touched my heart. That's where we feel it. Our emotions we call feelings because we feel them in our bodies, right? We also say, that gave me butterflies in my stomach, right? And that's where we feel it, right here in our solar plexus. That's where we feel excitement, anticipation. That's where we feel cold. That's where we can feel nervous, a little fear. It's also where we feel flirt. That's also where we feel humor, right? Here. And then we say, that got me in the gut. Oh, right? Oh, Meryl Streep says she acts from her gut. That got me in the gut. And we see something, oh, right? All right, but that's where writhing that comes into strength. That's where we feel strength. That's where we feel power. It's also where we feel tears, right? When it's here, and those tears can turn into other things. So we have, and that's a potent feeling, a radiant feeling, a buoyant feeling. And unless we're aware of and connect with our bodies and how we're feeling and what's actually happening here, then that informs our voice. It informs our sound. It affects our breath, which is what creates that sound and that connection. I want to share one other little thing about the body, though, is that if you take your hand and you come down here and you find your Adam's apple, you can move it back and forth. Can you feel it? Move it back and forth. Or just rest your hand on it and go, foo-weet, foo-woot, foo-weet, foo-woot. You feel them go up and down? That's your larynx. It's a little cup of cartilage. Inside lie your vocal folds. And they're about as big as your thumb. Men have bigger, thicker vocal folds, and we have smaller, thinner vocal folds. It's one of the reasons why they sound it, but they're just about that size. They lie right here on the top of your windpipe. Ordinarily, they're open. The air goes in and out and in and out. But when you develop the intention to speak, the brain tells those vocal folds to take in breath and then close. Air goes in, and then it wants to get out. And so it forces the vocal folds apart. And when it does, they begin to vibrate. Not only like this, but like this, like 300 times a minute. That creates sound waves. The sound waves travel up through your pharynx, through your throat, into this oral cavity, where they bounce against this bony mass, your nose bones, your cheekbones, your jaw, your cranium. Then those sound waves go out, they bounce against the hard surfaces, and they bounce into your listener. You are touching inside the body of your listener with your sound waves when you speak to them. It is a profound connection.
Love that. I love that. And I think that is such an interesting thought process, all of it, because I have never heard two voices exactly the same. Now, my husband and my boys sound similar, but not the same, right? And I, for a while, I had my boutique, I hired a radio station to play commercials for me, and they had a man doing the commercials, which was totally not the correct thing to do. I heard the first one. I told them, just pull that, I'll do my own. And they were like, well, yeah, but you don't have any training. I'm like, I'll figure it out. It's got to be better than that. So I created my own commercials using my own voice and working with my teammates and my employees to create commercials. Now, I was 2 hours from home one day, placing an order at Starbucks, and a young gal, I was probably my late 40s, and a young gal came running up to me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're the chicken lips lady. I know that voice anywhere." And I was like, and that was such an interesting insight for me because I never loved my voice. I'm a horrible singer. My voice is a little raspy. I've never smoked, but I have, had a few little vocal cord problems, and I don't have a really dainty feminine voice, but I'm not afraid to use it. But it's so interesting because that ties to you in such a personal way, your voice does, that it really takes you out into the world. And so the way that you do that, the way that you modulate, use, project, all of the things really also goes to your branding and to building your business or your persona that you're building, things of that nature. So tell me this.
It is an expression of you. And I just want to say, I don't want to stop you, but what I talk about, and I have pictures, your voice is like a snowflake.
Yeah.
Of the 8.2 billion people in the world today, nobody has your voice.
Yep.
And scientists speculate nobody in the history of the world has had your voice. I mean, it's like your fingerprints, right? Your eyes, your whirls of your ears, you have a tongue print. Everything about us is so unique. And that voice is only yours.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
you can have habits that serve it, and you can have habits that don't serve it. But just like our bodies, just like how we use our minds, right? We have to learn how to use it the most effective way. I'm sorry.
No, and so let's talk about this. Can you tell me what are some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they're speaking on podcasts, stages, webinars, sales calls, or even networking events?
I would say that the most important thing that they could do before they begin is to develop a process for themselves that works for themselves, to settle and become grounded in themselves and their bodies. Mindset work is important. It's a path. But when you become grounded, when you become, your neurological system becomes regulated and grounded, that's when the monkey brain thoughts don't fit. There's a disconnection between this and this, right? And it's we all have this beautiful little alarm system, these amygdala, these little almond-shaped things that are constantly looking for danger, right? And they're good. We don't want to, they call them the lizard brain, the reptile brain, but we need them. We need them now. But they are all, this whole thing, connected through the surfaces, the neurotransmitters, which also exist in your gut, and this vagus nerve, right? And then when all this is calm, there's a focus that allows you to settle on your intention, to settle on your purpose, to be focused on your full self and what you bring. And so sometimes I'm saying, sometimes learning a lot of presentation skills, which I've been taught, they say you have to have a variety of pitch, pace, tone, volume, and melody. And you don't want to be monotone, and you don't want to be nasal, and you don't, there's all these things not to be. But actually, pitch, pace, tone, volume is melody. And so they tell you, decide where you're going to have an up inflection and a down inflection, where you're going to talk fast, where you're going to talk slow, where you're going to talk loud, where you're going to talk softer, right? And we end up trying to choreograph how we're going to say things. Where are you going to pause for pace? Where are you going to talk fast? And you can talk about what kind of things are communicated by these different ways. What has happened is people have really reverse engineered how a powerful person speaks. Because when a grounded, connected speaker is speaking, those things arise spontaneously and naturally. I mean, you can see just then, I slowed down when I said that. There were pauses that arise. I didn't plan them. And sometimes if we stay so focused on control, so I talk about, we move from performance to presence. We move from control to connection, right? We move from commanding the room to holding the room. And when we become so focused on all the details, we lose that connection to ourselves, to our message, and to the audience.
I love that. And I feel like it really brings attention back to you as you're going through those steps, right? It
Right.
takes the listener on a journey, if you will. And sometimes it's really suspenseful. Sometimes it's like really just invokes curiosity. But that journey is the gift. And I think as entrepreneurs, we all need that. Can you share with our audience today what your gift is, how it's going to help them communicate with greater confidence, presence, and impact?
So what I offer, because to do this work, to really embody and get this whole work into your system takes a while, like learning how to play tennis or the piano, or you're learning how to play your body. But I offer a 3-hour free workshop so that you can fully experience this is my studio. It's body work. It starts on the floor. And you have to decide if that's comfortable for you, if it's something that resonates with what you want and what you need. And you'll begin to sense some results. I can't promise you overwhelming, transformation in 3 hours. But you will get a sense of what's there. You will connect. If you open yourself to the experience, to feel a different connection to what's happening here, how they're connected. I'm going to tell you, when I had this low voice, and one of the profound ways of finding this is you have something called the why buzz. You put your hands here, here, and here. You find the vibrations that happen, and you go down, 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 down until when those vibrations, you don't feel them, then you know your voice is too low and it can't be heard. And you bring it up until you feel the vibrations here, and you find that nice, clear feeling, what we call the why buzz, that's your pitch, that's the pitch that creates for you a full and resonant voice.
I love that. That is an amazing tip. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Mannette, thank you for joining us today. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that communication isn't about impressing people. It's about connecting with them. And as entrepreneurs, we spend a lot of time learning what to say, but often the bigger opportunity is learning how to be present while we're saying it.
If I can, I want to tell you, we all know Shakespeare, most of us, and we know the stories. So why do we go see Hamlet again and again? Because every Hamlet is different. The same words, but it's how they embody those words. It's how they communicate those words. And unless that actor does it different every night, it becomes dead. You have to live in the words. You have to live in the feelings. You have to live in the experience.
And that definitely will set you apart from the other people who may be saying something that's similar to that. So if today's conversation has resonated with you, make sure that you connect with Mannette, continue the conversation, and grab her free gift. We'll have all of her information available with this episode. And Mannette, thank you again for joining us for Monday Morning Business Foreplay inside Podapalooza. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.